Good morning. This is the Asylum Answer Show. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer, and I want to answer your questions today about winning asylum in the United States. Echo. Uh-oh. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good afternoon. Well, no, it's not afternoon anywhere yet. It's only 10:14 Central Time where I am in Texas. I live in Texas. We're based in Texas. My law firm is, but it doesn't really matter. We help people all over the country. It doesn't matter where you live. We have lots of clients, of course, in Texas where we're based, but tons in New York, tons in California, also a lot in Florida, all over, all everywhere in between. Tons in Georgia, uh, Illinois, all the rest. Good afternoon, good morning, good morning, good morning. I keep saying good afternoon, but it's still morning. Uh, Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to hear from folks in our community here about where you are, where you're joining us from. So say hello. Jump on, say hello. Yes, good morning. So we're going live lots of places here. We're on YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. Yep. That's right. That's right. Nice. For those of you who just joined or who don't know me, I'm Brian Manning and I'm an asylum lawyer. So I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now as a lawyer, my law firm, we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Okay. And it doesn't matter where you are, we help people all over the country. So if you think you might want help, if you know you need help, or you think you might want help with your case, we'd love to talk with you in a consultation. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation with one of our asylum professionals. But let us see who we got joining us today. Ahmed Alok on TikTok says, big fan. Nice. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for being a fan. Appreciate it. That's awesome. And we got Shakira on TikTok. We got Lulu Joseph says, I'm from Orlando, Florida. Nice. We have a lot of clients in Florida. Who we got? Who we got? We got Mythic Market. Thank you for being here on TikTok. Hello, YouTube. Good morning. By the way, for those of you who are joining us on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, all my and Instagram, all my best stuff actually is over on YouTube. That's where I've got training materials. I've got tutorials and lots of videos. Some of them that are really very detailed that I think are going to help you a lot to increase your chances for success in your asylum case. That's what this YouTube channel, that's what my all my social really is all about, is helping you maximize your chances for success. But the best way to find my best stuff, it's all on YouTube. Go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm, and it's also the name of the YouTube channel, Political Asylum Lawyers. Good morning, YouTube. We got hello, says Oloranti Lowal. Hello. We got Arthur, who says good morning from the DMV. Uh, for those of you who don't know, that's the area around Washington, D.C., which I love. I love the DMV. I love Washington, D.C. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. When I was a diplomat, I spent quite a bit of time in the DMV in that area by DC for training and stuff before going out on my postings overseas as a diplomat. I love DC. Hello, Mortens Sajadi. Thanks for being here on YouTube. Nice to see you. Glad you're here. All right. Uh, all right. Let's say hello. Let me know where you're watching from, but then let's get to the questions. I want to know, what do you want to know about winning asylum in the United States? For those who just joined, I'm Brian Manning. I used to be an asylum officer with USCIS, with the government. Now I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let's go. Questions. What do we got? Um, Let me know in the comments. What do you want to know about winning asylum in the United States? All right, we got a question from Vitan over on YouTube. Says, I came for on an M1 visa, applied for asylum, got a work permit a few days before. But if I work, my school will cancel my visa, so I have risk. Okay, true. There is some risk. Well, they might cancel your student status. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes it does, but you're right. There is a real risk of it. Uh, but remember, once you get your work permit based on your pending asylum case, you can work legally, and you can go to school legally as well. Like you don't need the student status. Once you get your work permit based on a pending asylum case, almost certainly that will work for you to go to school there. Okay. Uh, every school has their different rules, but honestly, as far as I know, every school that I've ever seen, allows you to go to school while, as long as you have the work permit, that's if it's based on pending asylum. Okay. Now you do need to take into account the fact that it's probably going to get much harder to get a work permit and to renew one. Um, in a couple of months, there's a good chance that this proposal from DHS is going to go through that's going to make it much harder for asylum seekers to get a work permit and to renew one. So for any of you, if you're eligible right now to apply for one for the first time, or if you're eligible to seek to renew your work permit based on your pending asylum case, do it right now, because 2 months from now is about the earliest time at which there could possibly go into effect new rules that might make it impossible. Very hard and a very long wait, if not impossible. Probably impossible for all intents and purposes. There's a decent chance that it'll get blocked, that this policy of basically trying to take away work permits from asylum seekers will get stopped by the courts, but that might or might not happen. We don't know. We can't count on that for sure. So if you're eligible to apply, if you've hit those 150 days since you applied for asylum, or if you're eligible to renew your work permit right now, you should do it right now. Right now. Okay. Um, Malik Scott wants to know on YouTube, what if an asylum case is closed? Good question. The question is this: what are your options if you want to still seek asylum after your asylum case was closed out? So there's a lot of people that got a letter from USCIS that said, sorry, we're closing your case out. Like we're doing what's called administrative closure from USCIS. There's also people who had a case in immigration court that got dismissed, where the judge said it's no longer active, we're dismissing this case. In both of those circumstances, you don't have an asylum case pending anymore, right? So what can you do if you want to still win asylum? Well, you can apply again. Under both those circumstances, you can apply again. In both cases, you're going to apply with USCIS. What happens next in terms of where your case gets processed, USCIS versus the court, that depends on whether you've previously had an asylum interview with USCIS or not. But the most important thing, the bottom line, is that if USCIS closed your case, or an immigration judge dismissed your case, or if USCIS gave you what's called a final denial, they denied your case, not sent you to court, but rather gave you a final denial, in all those scenarios, you can apply again. It's not over. You can still keep fighting your asylum case, but you have to apply again, and you do it with USCIS. If you want to talk about that, to learn more about the risks and the potential benefits and all of this, and get our sense for whether we think that you have a chance to win, schedule a consultation. Okay, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Oh, that's nice. What a lovely comment from Vitan on YouTube. Says, thank you. Your channel helped me a lot the past 8 months to have a clear mind in this hard time in the USA. God bless you. Thank you. What a nice comment. I appreciate that. Thank you for going out of your way to say that. I'm glad to hear the YouTube channel has helped you guys. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. YouTube is where my best stuff is. It's not just these little 1 to 3 minute videos that you're seeing on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. I have a lot of like 8 to 12 minute videos that are more detailed, but I also have some trainings, some full scale trainings that are like an hour long. I have one that's like 3 hours long. Okay, which is to say, there's some really deep, detailed stuff over on YouTube that you should check out. Go to YouTube and search for political asylum lawyers. Okay, political asylum lawyers. All right. SDFGS says, when I was a student, I was in another country, and other than my home country. And during this period, I went back to my home country for some months. Can the officer see this travel? And if they see, will it be a problem? Good question. The question is this: what is the significance of having been in another country that's not your own country for a while? Like, say maybe you were a student, you left your country, you went to another country to be a student for a while, and you were there for maybe some years, but during that time, maybe you went back to your home country for a little while, for weeks or months or whatever, and then you went back to this third country where you were studying, and then you came to the United States. Well, the question is whether the fact that you went back to your home country at some point or some points, does that hurt your asylum case now? Will the officer know about it, and does that hurt your case? Well, first of all, they're going to know about it because you have to give a pretty detailed travel history, and they're going to probably also explicitly ask you, after fleeing your country, did you ever return to your country? And that's actually a question on the application form as well. So yeah, it's going to come up because you need to be open and honest. I recommend that you be open and honest and transparent. So the officer, yes, is going to find out, and can it hurt you? Yes, it can. If you already had problems in your home country before you went to go to that third country, if like the persecution had already begun, and then you chose to go back to your home country, then yeah, it doesn't look great, right? It looks like, oh, if you're really afraid, then why did you go back? You must be okay. And if you went back and nothing happened to you, then it must mean that no one really wants to hurt you. So you have to be ready to respond to that. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it ends up being okay. If, for example, you um, go back and you keep a really low profile. Like you go from the airport straight to your family's house, and you stay inside and you don't leave, you don't socialize. You keep a real low profile to try to avoid scrutiny or try to avoid attention that could lead to harm. So little details like that matter. So you need to think about what happened and be ready to talk about it. Okay. But the bottom line is that yeah, it's something that will come up, and the officer will have questions about it. So you got to be ready to explain how it unfolded. Okay. All right. Uh, nice. All right. TikTok. Good morning. I keep saying good afternoon, but it's still morning everywhere. Um, uh, Yasin says, "What's the risk of traveling from the airport from Nebraska to Virginia?" Um, it's pretty low, I think, but honestly, it'd be better to just drive. Be better to just drive. There is a little bit. Anytime you're at the airport, you're dealing with, there's federal agents there. There's there's some risk there. In the past, I would have said it's fine, like under other administrations, but under this Trump 2.0, the risk is greater, such that I think it's better if you can drive. I think the risk is still pretty low, but it's better to try to avoid that risk, I think. Okay. Um, nice. Uh, all right. My asylum case has been pending for 8 years. I recently got an R1 visa while in the US. Can I travel? I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do it because well, it depends. The bottom line is I wouldn't do it. No. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, or there's a lot of different things that could possibly be looked at as negative factors that might make it such that they won't let you back in the country. Okay. First of all, you might have unlawful presence that serves as like a formal bar to your reentry for possibly 3 years or possibly 10 years, um, depending on when you applied for, like how much unlawful presence you had before you applied for asylum. But then there's also just this idea that like you have been here a very long time, and your asylum application, the fact that you've been living here for 8 years and that you have an asylum application pending, which tends to indicate that you want to stay permanently, those facts make it such that you the officer at Customs and Border Protection at the airport might be like, no, 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 you want to live here permanently forever. That's not what an R1 visa is for. Therefore, you can't come in. Um, Also, it risks it risks actually. There's a good chance that they would consider your asylum application to be abandoned if you leave the country without getting what's called advanced parole first. So look, there's a lot of reasons that make this tricky. I wouldn't leave. I'm surprised you got the R1 visa to begin with, but actually using it would be I think very risky. I would recommend against it. Sorry to be a bummer. All right. Uh, okay. Nice. Um, is a medical eval will a medical Haji wants to know on TikTok, will a medical evaluation in the United States help your credentials for past injury prosecutions? Um, yeah, so look, the question is nice. The question is this. Well, having a medical report that was made after you suffered injuries in your own country related to uh, persecution, could that help you win your asylum case here? Yeah, definitely. I mean, having any kind of documentation that backs up what you're saying, that supports what you're saying, can help increase your chances for asylum success here. And medical reports that show that you were injured, yeah, that can definitely be helpful, especially if they're detailed and they really show exactly what happened and show how bad it was. Because look, it's helping to show two different things. It's helping to prove that yes, it happened. The thing that you're claiming happened, in fact, happened. Someone else, a medical professional, is, I mean, they're not saying, they might not exactly say how it happened, but they're saying that you had injuries that sound like they're consistent with the kind of attack that you're describing. So that helps. But it also helps to show the severity of the past harm. Because remember, you got to convince the asylum officer that the harm that you suffered was sufficiently severe to rise to the level of persecution. Persecution is a term of art in the asylum world. It's not defined super concretely, but it basically means like very serious harm. And so a medical report that shows just how bad the injuries were helps you meet that persecution standard. So definitely medical reports detailing your injuries after something that happened to you that was part of the persecution against you, yeah, that can definitely be helpful. All right. Nice. When can we expect the asylum buzz? Earbuzz Chaudhry wants to know, when can we expect the asylum decision pause to be lifted? Will it be within this year? Good question. The question is this: what's going on with the asylum decision pause? When's it going to end? So look, it's still in effect. In January, the beginning of January, there was announced that there would be a pause on the issuance of decisions in asylum cases um, for at least 90 days, and USCIS had 90 days to come up with a plan or a system to better vet people, better vet asylum applicants, like look at their backgrounds and make sure they're not at risk, even though they're already very well vetted. Uh, so some people have been confused and thought that the 90 days meant that the pause would necessarily for sure be lifted after 90 days, but that's not how it works. It could be, it might be lifted at 90 days, but there's no guarantee that it will. The past announcement just said USCIS come up with a plan in the next 90 days. So we're almost at that 90 days. Like in a week from now, about a week from now, we'll be at 90 days, by which time USCIS should have announced a vetting plan. But they might come back and say, oh, but now we need a few weeks or a month or a few months to implement that vetting plan before we can start actually issuing the decision. So the bottom line is we don't know. It could be very soon. It could be like a week that the pause is lifted, but it may still be some weeks or months longer. I don't think it's, I'm fairly hopeful and positive that I'm taking an optimistic approach. I'm fairly hopeful that it will not be very much longer. Okay. All right. Ahmad, Ahmad said they came to the country without permission and then later got applied for asylum and then married a U.S. citizen and they have a child here. How can I get a green card? Yeah, your U.S. citizen, the cleanest route is for your U.S. citizen spouse to, um, to petition for you, to seek a green card for you on your behalf. That's the best route. A marriage-based green card case is easier to win than an asylum case. Asylum is hard. Asylum is very hard. Approval rates are very low. Even for people that have serious, real cases, it's hard to win. Okay, marriage-based case, as long as it's legitimate, as long as you're doing it for the right, you're married for the right reasons, not for immigration purposes, then you should be okay. I mean, to be clear, people do still lose those cases as well, but it's easier to win than an asylum case. All right. Uh, oh, nice. Priscilla Lauren says on YouTube, thank you so much for all your videos. So helpful. I studied your 73 interview questions before my interview. The officer asked almost all the questions and I was very prepared. Awesome. That's awesome. Guys, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, on YouTube, I've got a long video about 77 questions you're going to be asked at your asylum interview. Actually, you know what? I've got an even longer version, even more detailed version that's over 400 questions, that you can expect to be asked at your asylum interview. The shorter video, the 77 one, is on YouTube, and my YouTube channel is called Political Asylum Lawyers. But if you guys want the full version, the big one, with even more potential questions that you're going to be asked, go to this website to get it. Oh, wait a second. Actually, let me check. Let me check to make sure I remember the URL. I think it's asylumquestions.com. Yeah, it's called asylumquestions.com. I'm going to put this in the chat on YouTube. Go to asylumquestions.com. Asylumquestions.com. And that's where you can get the full training. In fact, if you go to that page, it says that it's 133 questions, but it's really over 400. Okay. I just kept going. I couldn't stop. I kept going, coming up with more and more and more and more and more. So go to asylumquestions.com if you want a super in-depth training about what questions you're going to be asked at your asylum interview. Asylumquestions.com. Okay. Asylumquestions.com. All right. Gabrielle O says, I was issued a deportation order. What can I do? I'm sorry to hear that. Gabrielle, when? When? How long ago? Was it more than 30 days ago? Because if so, you're in a very difficult position. There's not a lot of options. But if it was less than 30 days ago, uh, you can appeal. You can appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals. So the timing is critical. Look, this is something that we would need to talk about in detail, Gabrielle, about what the options are, what we might be able to do to help you. Okay. Um, in a consultation. So by the way, if you guys want to talk and see if we think we might be able to help you, go here. Go to winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. That's winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. Winasylum.com to schedule a consultation. Okay. All right. Can I get this? Kong Donkey wants to. Can I get the asylum process started before I get to the USA? Interesting question. Good question. The question is this: can you get the asylum process started before you ever get to the United States? Not in the formal sense. You can't apply. You can't make any arrangements with the government. There's nothing you can do formally that helps you or that gets the process started. But what you can start doing is building your case. By that, I mean, before you leave your country, you definitely want to make sure that you try to get access to any documents that support your case, evidence, right? Because sometimes once you get to the United States, it may be harder to get hold of the evidence. If you're relying on people back in your country to try to go find something and get you scan it and get a copy of it to you, it could be hard. And it may be impossible. And also, it's better to have the originals of documents too. Like if someone leaves a threatening letter at your house, it's better to have that original. And go ahead and do scan it now for sure. Scan it now and save it in the cloud, but also bring the physical original with you. So start doing that now. Start collecting evidence now before you come to the United States. Okay. There may be some lawyers that will start working with you before you come. We don't, though. In my law firm, we won't even do a consultation with someone until they're in the United States. But you might be able to find other lawyers who can. But look, the other thing you can do is start watching my YouTube videos. Go to my YouTube channel and just start watching videos. Go to the playlist. Okay, there's a playlist about applying for asylum, and there's a playlist about the asylum interview and like how to prepare and how to maximize your chances for success. Watch all those videos in those playlists. That's what you can do now. Okay, start preparing in that sense now. Good luck. All right. Uh, okay, my husband Mayra Rivas says, my husband signed a waiver of the asylum interview. When would he be getting his referral into? Oh, interesting. Why did he do that? Was it a 1 year filing deadline issue that he applied way after 1 year? Was that why, I wonder, Myra? Because that's the only scenario of which I know, and in the USCIS will send you this request and say, hey, we noticed that you applied way after the 1 year filing deadline. If you want, we can just skip the asylum interview and you can go straight to court because it's unlikely you're going to establish an exception to the 1 year filing deadline, meaning you won't qualify for asylum. However, in court, you can still get this thing called withholding of removal. If the judge believes your case and believes that you're at risk of persecution, you can get this other less beneficial form of protection called withholding of removal in court that is not available at the asylum office. Okay, Myra says yes. The question though, or she asked, when is he going to get the NTA? I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Could be anytime. It could be very soon, like imminently, or it could be weeks or months or even longer. It's just like when they get around to it. Okay, I don't know. Unfortunately. But look, I hope your husband has someone helping him with immigration court because it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Okay. Zamani says, can the cases of two asylum seekers who got married be combined in immigration court? It depends on whether you have like similar facts. Good question. The question is this: if two people who have their own asylum cases end up getting married in the United States and they both have cases in immigration court, can they combine those into like a joint case or in joint hearings? It depends on whether the facts of the case are similar. Like if you guys have had some of the same problems, some of the same persecutors, some of the same issues, then the judge will, you have to ask the judge to consolidate the cases or basically join them together. And but you have to show like, oh look, we have a lot of things in common to where it makes sense to treat this kind of as one big case. um, but if they're like two totally separate cases, like one has nothing to do with the other, um, then the judge will probably say no. There's no harm in asking to consolidate, but you should probably talk with an asylum lawyer first about whether that is the best thing to do strategically, whether it makes sense to try to consolidate from a strategic perspective. Okay. Are affirmative asylum offices safe from ICE? Not entirely. Anytime you're at a federal building, a federal office, there's a higher risk. There's some risk of ICE being there and arresting people. Um, but let me put it like this: I have heard of people getting arrested. I do know of people getting arrested at the asylum office by ICE, but it's usually people that have a criminal record. Okay. Um, if you don't have a criminal record, the chances of having a problem and getting arrested at ICE at an USCIS affirmative assignment interview are, I would say, very low. Okay. They're so low that I wouldn't worry about it. Okay. Okay. Nice. Uh, Somali cases are facing fast hearing. What's your opinion? Yasin wants to know. I don't think they're facing any faster than anyone else. Um, most people who apply right now for asylum are getting their interviews very quickly. It's not just Somalis. I don't know of any particular policy that is pushing Somalis forward faster. I'm not saying it's impossible. The Trump administration, they seem to really hate Somalis. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be super surprised to learn that there is a policy that's like trying to get their interviews at the asylum office or their hearings in immigration court done as quickly as possible so they can try to deport more of them quickly. I wouldn't be terribly surprised to hear that. However, I have not heard that, and I've not seen it. I've not seen Somalis getting interviews with the USCIS quicker or court hearings quicker than the general population. All right. Akoisa Dakori says, when can I expect to be scheduled for my assignment interview? I applied in April 2025. To be honest with you, I'm surprised that you haven't gotten it already. Most people who have applied within the last year and a half or so have gotten their interviews right away within like a few weeks or a couple months. And so I'm pretty surprised to hear that you applied in April 2025 and have not gotten your interview yet. Some of these cases fall through the cracks, um, but most people are getting them right away. If you haven't gotten one though, and you applied back in April, to be honest with you, your case is probably slid into the backlog now. And to be completely honest with you, you're probably not going to get it for many years, to be honest with you. Okay. And I know it's not great news. It depends on your perspective. Some people don't want to have their interview, they just want to buy more time. I personally think the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. Okay. And that's why we normally there's a few exceptions, but normally in most cases we're pushing to get the interview as quickly as possible because I believe the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. And that's one of the reasons that we use the Mandamus lawsuit all the time at my law firm to help people get their stalled asylum case unstuck. Look, if you've been waiting for years for your interview, you may be able to get the interview by suing the government in a mandamus lawsuit. I talk about this all the time because I love it, because our clients love it, because it works. Okay. We've filed hundreds of these. We have a success rate of over 99%. Okay. It's a powerful tool that I think we've figured out really well how to leverage it, how to use it for our clients. And if you're sick of waiting for your interview, you want to get your interview so you can win your case and get on with your life, get certainty about your future, and stop being in limbo, we should talk about suing the government to do that in a mandamus lawsuit. Actually, guys, look, we are so confident in our ability to, to have success for qualified applicants, for qualified clients with this lawsuit. We offer a money back guarantee. That's something you don't find at other law firms. Other law firms don't offer a money back guarantee. We do with this Mandamus service for qualified clients because we're so confident it will work. We're so confident that we can offer a money back guarantee. Okay. So if you're sick of waiting for your asylum interview, we should talk about suing the government with a mandamus lawsuit. Okay. Um, Go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation so we can talk. Okay. WINASYLUM.com. Winasylum.com. We want to get to know you. We want to understand your situation, hear about your case, understand what's going on so we can tell you whether we think we're in a position to help you. If we think that we're in a position to help you, we're going to tell you how exactly, like concretely, what steps we're going to take to give you the best possible chance to win your case. All right. Let's talk today in an asylum strategy session. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Let's talk. All right. Nice. For those of you who just joined recently, I'm Brian Manning and I'm an asylum lawyer. So I used to work for the government. I was an asylum officer with USCIS, but now as an asylum lawyer, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. That's what we do all day, every day, all over the country, helping people. All right. What do we got? What do you want to know about winning asylum in America? Uh, nice. Lots of questions on YouTube. All right. Um, nice, nice. My Divine Love says, my fiance is applying for citizenship, but I have a master hearing coming up in a few days. Can I still obtain a green card? Um, so you're, well, you can't get, the first things first, nothing that your fiance, your partner does is going to help you until you get married. You have to get married first. Um, and once you get married, if your fiance has a green card, presumably they have a green card right now, right? If you get married, um, then they can petition for you, but it's hard. It's not going to help you that much. It becomes powerful and helpful to you once your fiance becomes a U.S. citizen. Then their ability to petition for you to get a green card is much more powerful and is a good chance to actually help you. But look, they don't have that yet, and you're not even married yet. So right now, what you need to do is focus on winning your case in immigration court. I don't know if you've already applied for asylum. If you're afraid of going back to your country, then you need to pursue your asylum case, and that's what you should be focused on now because the other stuff is speculative. You're not even married yet. Um, so for right now, win your asylum case is what you should be focused on. All right. Um, Nice. Malik Scott wants to know, hey, Ryan, if I join your firm, I'm in another state. How can you get to me if I have an interview in my state? I'm trying to get a different lawyer, finding someone who can actually fight for my case. Thanks. Good question. The question is this. So can you hire my law firm if you live in another state different from where we're based? And if so, how does it work with like working with you in the interview if it's taking place in a different state? Absolutely. We help clients all over the country. We're based in Texas, but it doesn't really matter. We help clients all over the country. Okay. Um, we handle everything with you virtually by video conference and telephone and exchanging files, online through Google Drive. It's easy, it's safe, it's secure. We've been doing it with, I think, great success. It's not a problem. Our clients will tell you that it goes smoothly, it works well, it works. Okay. In terms of representing you during your interview with USCIS, the default, like the contract that you would sign with us says it's going to be virtual. Like we're going to represent you by virtual. You have to go in person, but we'll represent you virtually by either telephone or video conference, depending on the asylum office's policy at the moment. But look, if you want us to come in person, you can ask us, and you can pay a little bit more, like a travel fee, basically, and we'll come in person. We travel all over the country. We have lawyers living in different states in the US, and they travel all over the country to attend interviews with people who want us to come in person. What we do in terms of the value that we add and how we help you substantively is exactly the same whether we're there in person or whether we're representing you virtually. But we understand that people sometimes just feel more comfortable. They feel better having the lawyer with them in person. And so if you ask us, and we have our schedules are open to be able to travel, and you pay a little bit more travel fee, then yeah, we'll come in person if you want. whatever you want. Okay. Call us. Actually, don't call. It's quicker to go schedule online. Go to winasylum.com. 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 Let's talk. All right. Bible 406. In a family case where the husband suffered in adulthood, but the wife suffered since childhood at the hands of the government, would it be better for the wife to be the principal asylum applicant? We got to talk about that. I have to know more. We got to talk about details. I want to hear your story. I want to hear your husband's story to decide who would be the principal applicant. Look, sometimes, yeah, well, let me put it like this. You can both apply as principal applicants. You can both have your own asylum cases. Usually we don't want to do that. Usually we think it's better strategically for a married couple to just have one person be the principal applicant for various reasons. But that's something we would decide after talking through it with you, in a consultation, and with our lawyers, to decide, a, should both of you apply separately or just one person, and then if just one person, then b, which one strategically makes more sense. Okay, so we would talk all through that in a consultation. So Bible 406. I hope to go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation. WINASYLUM.com. Okay. WINASYLUM.com. Okay. Nice. Mustafa, what's your question? You said Afghanistan. My brother got asylum granted last year, but he extended his passport 3 years ago. While pending decision in the embassy that he extended is not working with the Taliban. Are you asking? Yeah. What's your question about that though? Let me know what your actual question is. Okay. Uh, okay. Interesting. Have you Jimana Providence, Habugamana Providence says, I got a NOID, NOID, because I went back home before I came to the USA, but I was third country, but the visa was expiration. They found past persecution. My rebuttal explained. Okay, so have you got a notice of intent to deny? Have you already did you already send in the rebuttal? Um, um, if not, call us. We've won these cases. Look, guys, it's really hard to win a NOID rebuttal. When I say NOID, it's a NOID, notice of intent to deny. At the asylum office, they call it a NOID. And it's really hard to win these cases. Once you get one of these, they almost always stick to their initial decision, but it's not impossible to change their minds. We've won these cases, including recently. Okay. Um, so keep that in mind, but you got to act quick because there's a short deadline and it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to effectively rebut a notice of intent to deny. Okay. So if you get a notice of intent to deny, call an asylum lawyer immediately. Okay. Because it takes time to put together a strong rebuttal. All right. I have Abubakar Ismail says I have a credible fear interview in New York. Do you think it's safe for me to go? There's a pretty good chance. There's a pretty high chance you'll be detained. To be completely honest with you, I'm not telling you whether it's like safe or a good idea for you to go. That's a decision only you can make. But what I can tell you is that there's a pretty high chance. I can tell you that people are getting detained quite often at credible fear interviews. Is what I can tell you. Okay. It's tough. It's rough out there. Yeah, it was. You asked about where that website was to find the training on the asylum interview questions. It's asylumquestions.com. Okay, again, it's asylumquestions.com. All right. Uh, nice. Oh, nice. Uh, Omotayo says, I have a strategy session with your team today at noon. Awesome. Glad to hear it. That's on YouTube. Omotayo says that. Um, good. So just like an hour. Well, depending on where you are, I'm not sure what noon you're referring to, but that's awesome. That's awesome. Glad to hear it. Hope it goes well. I think you're gonna like my team. Everyone does. They're super professional. They're using, they're trained to my standards on training that I created, uh, and I think they do a really good job with getting to know you and understanding your situation and explaining to you what we think your options are. They're good at it, and you're gonna have a good experience. All right. For those of you who want um, to do what Omotayo did and schedule a consultation with us, what we call an asylum strategy session, you can do that here at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Omotayo has his strategy session with our team coming up in like an hour and 6 minutes at noon today. You should schedule it too. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. All right. Nice. If you applied for asylum, Humble Heart wants to know if you applied for asylum in October 2025. Have you fallen into the backlog, or are you going to get an interview soon? Let's see, November, February. 4 months. There's still a chance. There's still a chance to get it soon. If you get to like 6 months after applying, I would say that look, you probably are one of the cases that unfortunately slipped through the cracks, and you're going to be in the backlog. Honestly, okay. But at 4 months, there's still a chance of it being scheduled very soon, like soon from now. Okay. Uh, oh, nice. Pierre says, "Hey Brian, I'm an asylum officer from Italy. Cool. Our Chinese Christians, but it got truncated. I don't see the rest of your post, Pierre. Um, uh, Yeah, this is so true. Trong Levon says on YouTube, I really appreciate your sharing. It's very helpful indeed. During interviews, asylum officers rarely look at our documents or evidence. What they want from us is our answers. Thank you. Yeah, look, guys, everyone, this is a super important point. Super important. It's hard to say. Super important point. Your testimony is what matters. It matters so much more than anything else. When I say testimony, I mean what you say on the day of your interview, how you tell your story, how you answer questions, including difficult or even hostile questions. That is what matters. There's a saying that asylum officers interview applicants, not documents. They don't care that much about your documents. Look, doing a good job with your application, doing a good job with your declaration, doing a good job with evidence, having a good legal brief from a lawyer who cites to and analyzes and discusses effectively good country conditions information, having a lawyer represent you on the day of your interview, all 6 of those things are good and helpful. They can help increase the chances for success. They're good. But none of them is anywhere remotely as important as how you perform with your testimony on the day of your interview. What you say is way more important. In fact, it's way more important than all 6 of those other things combined. Okay. It really matters. It really matters how you tell your story and how you answer questions. And it's hard. The interview is harder than you expect. The officer doesn't just let you tell your story and explain your case. Rather, they're going to ask question after question after question after question after question after question after question. They're constantly shifting and changing topics, okay? Asking you things out of order. They're doing things to try to get you to mess up, to try to get, some of them are actively trying to sabotage you, to try to get you to make mistakes so they'll have an excuse to deny you, okay? It's hard. But the good news is you can drastically increase your chances for success with proper preparation, okay? With practice, The most effective way to do that I know of, based on my 11 years of experience working for the government's 2 main agencies for asylum and refugee matters, and based on my experience now running a law firm for 6 years that focuses on asylum, based on my experience, the best way to prepare is a mock interview, a practice interview, like a simulated interview, full-scale mock interview. That's the best way to prepare. So we do this with our clients, right? We do a full-scale mock interview. And then later, a day or 2 or 3 later, we do what we call a debrief session where we give feedback, where we say, hey, when you gave this certain answer, it was a little bit unclear what you're talking about. Let's talk through it and try to find a way for you to express that in a clearer, more compelling way. Or, you need to think about doing this better or that. We don't tell you what to say. It's your story. You're going to tell it your way. But we just want to make sure that you're being clear and communicating effectively to tell your story in a clear and compelling and powerful way. Okay. So we do a full scale mock interview, and then we do a debrief session. And then we give our clients access to recordings of those practice sessions, both video and audio format, and transcripts from them, so they can keep studying, they can keep reviewing, okay? They can keep practicing with those and benefiting from those materials all the way up until the day of their interview, okay? And also, they get access to exclusive training materials that aren't available anywhere else. Like, most of my best stuff is on YouTube, but there's a couple training materials that we hold out, to be honest with you, just for our clients. And our clients get access to those. And you can too, even if you are not in a position to hire us for a full scale representation, you can hire us just for preparation. Okay. Some people, they get their interview scheduled, or even if it's not scheduled, but you're going to have it someday. So you want to start preparing now. You want to take action now. Maybe they're not in a position to hire us for full representation because it's expensive, right? Or because there's not enough time before the interview. Whatever the reason, may be, some people just aren't in a position to hire us for full scale representation. The next best thing, in my opinion, is preparation. Hire us for preparation, which we do offer as a standalone service. We offer it, you can hire us just for the preparation, okay? We call it the mock asylum interview experience, or the experience for short. It's our preparation service, the experience, okay? If you want to learn about that, schedule a consultation so we can see whether you qualify for it, okay? You can do that at winasylum.com, 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 okay? All right. Winasylum.com. DDD PPP wants to know, how many years should we wait before filing that lawsuit, Mandamus? At least 3, ideally 5. If you wait 5 years before filing Mandamus, we think you're in an excellent position to have success. We're so confident that we can win this case for you that we offer a money back guarantee for people who've been waiting 5 years or more. If you've been waiting fewer than 5 years, but at least 3, maybe. We've won those cases, but the very, very few cases that we've lost. Remember, I told you earlier, we've filed hundreds of these cases with a success rate of over 99%. The only cases that we've lost have been under 5 years. They were around 3 years. They were a little over 3 years waiting. Okay, so we still take those cases. If you want to file at under 5 years, but you have at least 3 years waiting, we'll take your case, but we don't offer the money back guarantee on those because there's a good chance we're going to have to fight it out to the bitter end with the federal government, and that can be very time consuming, very expensive. 3 years, you can give it a try. 5 years, I think you're in an excellent position for success. Okay. Karim Gasser wants to know, if we lose in USCIS and court, is it unlikely that we'll be into the United States with the visa later? Yeah. You honestly, the hard truth is you probably will never be able to come back on a visa, like a tourist visa or a student visa, any kind of short term, what we call non-immigrant visa. Yeah. It's almost certainly going to be impossible, unfortunately. Okay, cool. Pierre says, I'm an asylum officer from Italy. Nice. Are Chinese Christians generally granted asylum in the U.S. and recognized as refugees? What do they have to demonstrate to be granted? They have a decent chance. Yeah, Chinese Christians have a decent chance of winning asylum in the United States. They don't all win, but they have a decent chance because it's a real thing. There really is persecution of Christians and other religious minorities in China. So, what do they have to demonstrate? Well, they got to meet all of the asylum eligibility requirements, which unfortunately I don't have time to go through right now because I gotta go. That's it actually for today. Yep, gotta run. Thanks for being with us. Again, I'm Brian Manning. I'm a former asylum officer turned asylum lawyer, and my law firm now, we help immigrants all over America to secure their future in America through asylum. If you want to talk, We would love to talk with you and get to know you and understand your situation, see whether we think we can help you. And if so, explain how we're going to empower you, how we're going to give you agency and some control over your immigration situation. You can take concrete action. I promise you, you can take action to drastically increase your chances for success. It's not random, it's not a crapshoot. There are things that you can do to drastically increase your chances for success. And we want to help you with that. We love helping people with that. That's why we do, it's why we exist. If you want to talk about it, go to winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. Okay. Winasylum.com. All right. Nice. Awesome. Have a good afternoon, everyone, and stay safe. Keep the faith. Stay strong. And it really is a pleasure and an honor to support you in your asylum journey. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye, YouTube. Bye, guys. LinkedIn.